So what have we been reading lately?
A lot.
Hi, I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and as usual we have been reading a lot lately, some of it for school and some of it just for fun.
And as you know, every couple of months we like to give you a book update, so that's what we're doing today. Let's get started.
A book that I really enjoyed recently was A HOBBIT devotional by STRAUSS. So in it, he takes different scenes from The Hobbit and relates them to things that you might experience in your own life. And then he adds in a Bible verse or a related Bible story and turns each chapter into a short devotional. So it's really fun. I don't think I agree 100% with his theology all the time, but be that as it may, I still enjoyed it. It was fun to revisit the Shire and all of Bilbo's adventures. The target audience for this one is teenagers, but I think really anyone of any age could enjoy it.
The next book we have is The Healing Woods by Martha Revin. This is an older book that actually came to us through our church library, and it is the author telling the story of the 2 camping seasons she spent out in the woods in Upper New York as a tuberculosis patient. So she talks about all of her adventures and her mishaps, all the different characters that she met, both human and animal, and how this experience ultimately changed her life. We read this one for school, kind of on a whim, and we both ended up falling completely in love with it. It is charming, it's so funny, and we definitely recommend that you check it out, especially if you're a nature lover.
So my next book is Between the Forest and the Hills by Anne Lawrence. This one is from Bethlehem Books, and I've always heard it's so good, it's so funny, you've got to read it. So this story is set in England at the end of the Roman Empire. Rome is dying, and they've pretty much forgotten about this little town, this outpost of Roman civilians and soldiers way off in England. So that does lead to some pretty humorous situations. Now, there are a lot of characters in this book, and a lot of them have Roman names. So at times I did find it a little bit confusing, like who is this guy again, what was up? But I can see why kids like this one because there's a lot of action and adventure, and it is funny. There's a talking crow, there is a mystery man, there's a lot going on that you can enjoy. I'm just going to say it's probably not my all-time favorite book, but I'm still really glad I had the chance to read it.
The next book we have is The Kitchen Madonna by Rumer Godden. And we did talk about this book a little bit in our Kitchen Madonna video, so we'll have that linked down below, but it is such a sweet story that we wanted to talk about it again. So the book follows Gregory and Janet, 2 siblings, as they go on a quest to find the perfect kitchen Madonna for their housekeeper Marta, who does not approve of their kitchen because it has no Madonna in it. So it's fun to follow them as they try to solve this problem, and I really can't say too much more without spoiling the book. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. It's short, you could probably get through it in just a couple of days, and you can really never go wrong with Rumer Godden.
Just last week, I finished this book by Joan Carol Cruz, Eucharistic Miracles. She's written several, and she's a favorite author of mine because I find that her books are just so amazing. But I do have to read them slowly. Usually I'll just read 1 chapter a day so I can take in all the information and the details and ponder them. This one is so full of wonderful stories. I had never heard of most of these Eucharistic miracles before. And then at the back, there's a nice section about saints who lived on just the Holy Eucharist or who had a special devotion to Jesus in the Holy Eucharist. And there's even a really good article on spiritual communion. So this one definitely has a lot to offer. If you've not read any of Joan's books, this one would be a really good one to start with.
Next, we have a new short story called The Christmas Lights from 7 of the Catholic teen book authors. This one just came out several days ago, and it follows Camilla after a snowstorm has left her family in a particularly bad situation, and it's up to her to save them. So it's a perfect Christmas read. It's short, but it is clever and inspiring. I definitely enjoyed it. And all the proceeds from this book are being donated to Cross Catholic Outreach, a Catholic organization that helps those in need in over 30 countries. So everything from this book is going to a great cause, and definitely check it out. If you haven't, we'll have a link to the book and to Cross Catholic Outreach down in the description box below.
My last book is Hidden in Plain View by Lydia McGrew, Undesigned Coincidences in the Gospels and Acts. I first heard about this book on the Council of Trent podcast, so it was recommended by Trent Horn. So I thought, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to track down a copy, and I'm really glad I did. In it, the author looks at different coincidences in the Gospels and Acts. For instance, there might be something that happens in one gospel that is explained or clarified in another gospel just totally accidentally. Like they didn't plan it that way. It just happens that so-and-so's remarks in this gospel explain this guy's gospel more thoroughly. So let me give you an example of that. In the Gospel of Mark, when Jesus fed the 5,000, Mark makes a point of mentioning that there were large crowds of people and they were all coming and going, and Jesus had them sit down on the green grass. But that doesn't really make sense, because if this large crowd of people was coming to hear Jesus speak, why were some of them going? Why were they just milling around? But then if you go to the Gospel of John and he talks about the feeding of the 5,000, John doesn't say anything about the grass being green or about a large number of people milling around. He just says, it was Passover. So then all of a sudden, boom, Mark's gospel makes sense, because the grass is only green in the Holy Land at the time of Passover, generally the early spring. And if it was Passover, then there would be hundreds of thousands of people milling around the city, right? So they explain each other, which is really cool. And there are a ton of little coincidences like that in Paul's letters, Acts of the Apostles, the Gospels. So definitely, if you're into that kind of thing, check out Lydia McGrew's book. It's a good one.
And my last book today is Keeping Company with St. Ignatius by Luke Larson. We did talk about this book a little bit in our Camino update video, so we'll have that linked down below if you want to check it out. This book is the author sharing his experience walking the way of St. James, or the Camino, and what it was like to be a pilgrim. He talks about what it's like for housing and food, the sore feet, and all the people that they met. But he also talks about his specific intention of keeping company with and getting to know St. Ignatius of Loyola. So the book is shorter, but it's very interesting. We read it for school and definitely recommend it, especially if you're interested in what it's like to walk the Camino.
So that's what we've been reading lately. What have you been reading? Let us know down in the comments.
I hope you enjoyed the video today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.